Thank you. All right, so here we go again. All right, so let's have a look. Now, what really, if I have to explain this in very common layman language, it's like we've all used computers. Everybody has, or even phones for that matter. I don't think anybody here doesn't have a phone, right? Everybody does. Now, a phone is also like a mini computer. Now we have these smartphones and tablets and laptops and stuff like that. Now, the thing is, there are two components to this, that what you see. One is the hardware, of course, the piece of machinery that you're seeing. And one is what we call as the software, right? And without the software, the computer or your phone or your tablet is not going to function. Do you agree? Yeah. And again, we don't have one software. We have different softwares that does different functions. So you may have an accounting software like Tally. You may have a designing software. You may have a gaming software. You also have the operating system, which is controlling everything. So there are different softwares for different functions. And if any of these softwares gets a virus or there's something that goes wrong with the programming and coding, what happens then? The system crashes, or that is an extreme thing, that the system would crash, or sometimes even the computer doesn't run the way it is supposed to. Your results may be skewed, your program might not run the way it is supposed to. And ultimately, if it's an extreme issue, then the computer might even crash, right? And when that happens, that's literally like a virus or something that's gone into a bug that's gone into the system. And then you see all these issues and symptoms where your program is not running, where your computer crashes. And when that happens, what you really need is to put an antivirus software. We do that. We've done that all the time. So we need to debug the system. We need to remove the virus codes, whatever there is. We need to reboot the system probably, and we also need to put an antivirus software so that the computer is protected from any further virus attacks. And sometimes if there's nothing wrong, everything is going on smooth, thankfully, sometimes you also need to do system upgrades, because there are upgrades or software updates that are available regularly. And if you don't do that, then you are limited to the functions. Sometimes, the old operating systems or the old softwares become obsolete, and then you don't get the functionality that you want. And sometimes even when the older ones are functional, you always want to upgrade to a newer software, because that gives you a better level of functioning, isn't it? We do that all the times with our systems, with our phones. We buy new phones every 2-3 years. Why is that? Because we want new phones with better functionality, better updates, better software, better hardware, everything. So now coming to us, when I talk about the human self and I compare it to a computer, the body that we see is the hardware, right? So the entire body that we see, everything included, is the hardware. So then according to you, what is the software? Can anyone tell me that in a chat? What do you think is the software? Or maybe you want to unmute yourself and tell. Anyone? What do you think is our software? If the body is the hardware, what according to you think is the software?
Brain?
Well, no, the brain is hardware again. Anything that you can...
Subconscious mind?
Subconscious mind is one of the softwares that we have. So like I said, we have different softwares.
Feeling and emotions?
Sorry?
Feeling and emotions.
Feeling and emotion is a function of the software. Okay, so feeling and emotion is a functionality of a software. Subconscious mind is one of the softwares that we have. Okay, that is also one software. But the collective mind, and somebody said brain here. So anything that you see, that you can, any organ or anything that you can see, dissect, cut, open and see is hardware. It can be compared to the motherboard, the central processing unit. So the central processing unit in a computer is that gives out information or orders to all the other parts of the computer, isn't it? So it's the same way with us. The brain is actually the central processing unit. It's the central organ that controls everything. But again, it's also part of the hardware. It is not the software. So the software that we have, we call it the mind. So the collective word, subconscious mind, very close to it. Okay. So the collective word is the mind for the software system that we have, and subconscious mind is one of the softwares that we have. So just let's go forward and take a look. All right. So when does your mind, or when does this software come into existence? So we all know that we start life as one single cell, right? We've all started life in the womb as with conception as one single cell. I mean, there's nobody on this earth, 7 billion plus people who have directly come from the earth, nobody, from the skies, nobody, right? We all start life in as a single cell with conception. And when conception happens, is just that one single cell. There is no brain, there's no heart, there's nothing. There's just one cell with all the information that it needs. And that is the time when your unconscious mind comes into picture. So this is the first software that you have, the unconscious mind, which is roughly 30 to 40% of your entire mind capacity. And the function of the unconscious mind is to take care of your immune system and all your body functions. So then this one cell will divide and redivide and, form clusters, and these clusters go on to form organs, and these organs go on to form like your different body systems. We have around 9 body systems. So skeletal system, muscular system, nervous system, digestive system, the reproductive system, all these are the different body systems that you have. There are about 9 of them. So the unconscious mind, or this software, is in control of all of that. So your immune system and all your body functions are in control by the unconscious mind. It starts when you were a single cell, and it'll continue till your death. Okay, and it's very automatic. You cannot control this, literally. So if I tell you now, stop your hair from growing, or stop your kidneys from filtering the blood, or stop your lungs from, taking in the oxygen and throwing out the carbon dioxide as you breathe, you can't do it. It's very automatic. It's going on unconsciously, even without your awareness, right? So all your immune system, all your body functions are controlled by this software. Now, next is the subconscious mind. Okay, so you did mention the subconscious mind, yes. And why we talk so much about the subconscious mind is because it is 50 to 60% of the total mind capacity. Now, what is the subconscious mind? This comes into existence roughly around, I would say, 4 to 5 months of pregnancy. So you're still in your mother's womb, you're still growing as an embryo, as a fetus, as a baby inside the mother's womb. And around 4 to 5 months is where the subconscious mind comes into picture. Now, what is the subconscious mind? It's a memory bank. Just how like you have a memory bank in the computer as well, you have something which is inbuilt. You also add on, those external drives, but you need the memory bank to store all the information, right? So it is so with the subconscious mind that everything that has ever happened to you and this starts from the time that you're in the mother's womb, okay? So your sense organs also start to form roughly around that month, your eyes, your ears. And the first sense to develop is the sense of hearing. So children in the womb, so I wouldn't call them children, sorry, the embryos in the womb, the fetuses in the womb, can hear everything that's happening around them. They can also hear their mother having conversations, the conversations that is happening around them. They're also aware of the mother's emotions and feelings. So this particular subconscious mind is also the seat of your emotions and feelings. And everything that has ever happened to you when you were in the womb, once you were born, your interactions with your immediate family, with your siblings, with your parents, with your grandparents, with your uncles and aunts, once you start going to school with your friends, with your teachers, so much so that even as a child, if you would have gone to the park with your parents, or if now you take your kids to the malls, to parks, to anywhere, everything that is happening in the surrounding is getting stored here in the subconscious mind, right? So there's a lot of information there, lots of information, all right? Nothing is ever deleted. You might forget it. You might not remember what's happened in the womb, or maybe when you were a child of like a young child of 1 year old. We don't remember, but everything is stored here and it can be brought back. Then all this information that is there, this is what forms our programs. This is what forms codes. Now, what are software programs in a computer? We know that they are just a set of programs and codes, right? They're a set of coding language which runs the computer. That's the software. So exactly so in the same way as well, we have a coding, we have a programming, and all this programming happens from all the information that is stored in the subconscious mind, right? This coding or this programming forms what we call our belief systems and behaviors. So if you have certain belief systems, if you have certain behaviors that you're observing even in yourself as an adult, and I spoke about myself, right, that for the longest time I had this behavior that I found it very difficult to communicate within a group of people, and because of which I lost so many opportunities in school, in college, even in life later on, where I just had to let go of these wonderful opportunities just because I couldn't communicate in when I was put in a group of people. And mind you, it was not stage fright. Okay, it was not stage fright because I could go on stage and I could dance, and I used to participate. But when it came to talking, even in a small group of people, and I used to be like just lip locked, tight, zipped up. I just couldn't speak. So those were the behaviors, and there were a lot of limitations, also a lot of beliefs that I was holding on to that stopped me from progressing in my life. And where is all this coming from? It's coming from your coding, the programming that's happening with all the information that's downloaded into your subconscious mind. Which comes from our interactions, from our environment once we are born. It also comes from the time that you are in your mother's womb, when you're hearing things around her, when you're aware of her emotions and feelings, you're taking on that. And one very interesting thing to note over here is that our coding not only starts from our mother's womb, it has actually started from our grandmother's womb. And you will ask me, how is that possible? How is that even possible? How can our programming coding start from our grandmother's womb? But what happens here is when a lady is pregnant, she's not only carrying her child, she's also carrying her child's child. Because the child that is growing inside her, there's the reproductive system. So, right, if it's a female child, she will have her ovaries, the reproductive system. If it's a male child, the testes will all be there. So the ovaries already have the eggs. The testes already have the systems that are required for them to go on and procreate later on in life. So a grandmother, a mother, when she's pregnant, the child growing within her also has the reproductive systems. So in a way, indirectly, she's not only carrying her child, she's also carrying her child's child. And so the information is being passed on like this genetically from generation to generation. So we have the DNA, we know about it, right? The DNA system, the DNA coding, and also a lot of other stuff, which is emotions and feelings, also get passed on from generation to generation. Beliefs and behaviors, some of them also get passed on. It's a very complex system. Now, moving on. This layer of the subconscious mind is also very protective. It wants good things for you. It loves you. It really loves you. So all that it understands is safety and comfort. It wants you to feel good because it's a seat of emotions and feelings, right? So it wants you to feel good. It wants you to feel comforted at all times. So if it's identified a behavior that makes you feel safe and comforted, it will not go. It's also very lazy. So it will not go and look for something else, right? So in my case, not talking used to make me feel safe and secure. Okay. Though it was not the right thing. I knew it, that this is not what is doing me good. But for my subconscious, that behavior used to make me feel safe and secure. The fears that we have, people fear water, though it is so wonderful. And there are some people who would go swimming and deep sea diving. And, there's so much of beautiful sea creatures that we get to see if you just don't have the fear of water, and you can go snorkeling or scuba diving. We've seen pictures, but yet there are some people who fear going into water. There are some people who fear heights. There are some people who fear snakes, and there are some people who would make that their profession, handling snakes. Skydiving, scuba diving, these are professions that people do, and there are some people who really fear it. So much so that they will not even go near the water, and they miss out on so much of joy and fun activities that there are. Yeah, I love to go swimming, but there are some people who don't like to enter water because they're just so scared. And where has this come from? We're not born with these fears. They are some things that we've taken on from the environment. We've heard something, something has happened that the subconscious mind has now been programmed to fear water. All right. And it wants to keep you safe. It wants to keep you protected. And so it will not allow you to go near water because that is a feeling of safety that you get. So it is also very lazy. Once it has identified something that, no, you shouldn't be doing that, it will not allow you, or it's very lazy. It will not look for other things that it helps you to overcome those. And that is why so many people find it so difficult to overcome their fears, overcome their belief systems, overcome their behaviors, overcome their habits, because it's all programmed into them. And this is like 50 to 60%. So it's a major, major part of your mind. Now, the subconscious mind though has one limitation. The limitation that it has is that it only understands content. It cannot understand context. So whatever you tell it, it will not understand, or it will not try to look for the reasoning behind it or why it is being said. It just takes it on as the reality. Okay. So in my case, coming back to my example, when I said that for the longest time, I couldn't talk or communicate just one or two, and anywhere, unknown people or a group of people, I couldn't talk, is because when I worked on myself, I realized that my mother, for my safety, she had told me, and we tell this to our children, right? Don't talk to strangers. Be very careful when you're talking to people. So when I was a young girl, she told me this. And for me, that went into my programming and coding. So the limitation here is that the subconscious will only take in the content, not the context. So it heard the words that don't talk to people, but it didn't understand. It will never take on the reasoning behind it. That why is it not supposed to be done? You're not supposed to be doing that. Talking to strangers and other people, it's for your own safety. And my mother said it to me in a very good way. Not that she was harsh to me in any way. It was just a normal conversation that we are having. And she was saying, okay, darling, you need to be careful, okay? And I became so careful that I literally became, tongue-tied. I couldn't communicate. And that led to a lot of distress to me later on. So this is the limitation it has, the subconscious, that it only understands content. It does not understand context. And this is the limitation that we can actually use to our advantage. So hypnotherapy, NLP, this is the limitation that these modalities use to make the changes. Can we make the changes? Of course we can. Of course we can. It is nothing but a coding, right? It is nothing but a programming. So same way how you have your system upgrades, or you would change your programming in a computer, in a software. So you change the program and you get a different result, right? Let's take the example of a calculator, a simple computer. 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, right? Because that's the way it's been programmed and coded, that 2 plus 2 should be equal to 4. But now if I want 2 plus 2 equal 5, what do I have to do? I just need to go in, change the coding, change the way it's been programmed. The next time that I run it, 2 plus 2, I will get a 5, right? So what have we done here? Nothing. We've just changed a little bit of the coding, a little bit of the programming. And when you now run the system, you get a different result. So it's the same with us. We are nothing but a set of codes and programs. And if you see something in your life that you don't like or you want to change, go ahead and change it. All you need to do is change your programming, change your coding. And then when next time in the same situation, you would get a different result. So now going forward, We've spoken about the unconscious mind, we've spoken about the subconscious mind, and there is also something that we have which we call as the conscious mind. Now, what is the conscious mind? The conscious mind is just 10% of your total mind capacity. It is what we call as the intelligence quotient, the IQ, all right? This mind is the rational mind. It needs reasons for things. It reasons out things. This is your thinking mind. This is where your thoughts come from, okay? All your thoughts originate here in the conscious mind. This is the will. The will is, I want to do this. I want to eat this for lunch today. I want to wear this to work today. I want to do this. I want to watch this movie today. So all your choices, your will, this is what I want to do, is a function of the conscious mind. It's also analytical. So all the analysis happens here in the conscious mind. And the conscious mind is not very well developed in very young kids. So between the ages of 0 to 3, the conscious mind is, it comes into existence, it comes into picture, but it's not developed. So that's why when you put very young children on the ground, they'll just put anything in their mouth. It could be like a walking, crawling insect, and they'll just pick it up and want to try to put it in their mouth. They'll pick up chappals and slippers and they'll want to put it in their mouth. You know, if there's just hot tea, they might just run towards it because they cannot analyze. You know, you put them out on the street, they'll just run on the road, and you've got to keep running after them to pull them back because they cannot analyze that a moving car means danger. So it's not very well developed in young kids. It only starts like really developing by the age of 3 years. That's when we start sending our children to school. So the school going age is about 3.5 years. That's when children start school, because that is where the conscious mind really starts developing. This is also the software that is concerned with your learning. So all academics, all learning is a function of the conscious mind. Now this little white thing here between the conscious and the subconscious mind is what we call as the critical faculty. It's like a protective lid, okay, between the two minds, because there's so much of information here. Can you imagine? I mean, I am 48. So from the time that I was in my mother's womb till 48 years, can you imagine the amount of information that I have in my subconscious mind now? All right. And what would happen if there was this no protective lid? All the information would come flooding into my awareness, and a person can go berserk. That's not what we want. So this lid, what it does is it is a protective lid, and it keeps all the information inside. It forms a lid, a protective covering. So this also explains why that you might will something. I want to do this. I want to lose weight. I want to give up this. I want to give up this habit. I want to give up, you know, whatever it is, or I want to do this. But if that is not in your programming, it will not happen. Because once you think about something, you have a thought, or you want to do something, and it comes here, you know, to this particular thing, and it checks inside, but that is not what the coding is, and so it just gets rejected, even though you know. So this is what happens, right? For people who are who have the habit of cigarette smoking, consciously you know that it is not a good habit. You want to give it up. Okay, it's not healthy. I want to give it up, but it's gone into your programming. It's become a habit. It's become a behavior that even though you know that you want to give it up, even though you know consciously that it is not a good habit to have, or you know that you need to speak out, which is important, but then the programming is so different that it just doesn't allow it. It just doesn't allow it. So this critical faculty, again, is not very well developed in very young kids. A major programming happens between the age of 0 to 7, 8, 9 years. That's when the major programming is happening. Some of it still continues till the age of 13 years. So between the ages of 0 to 13, we are a lot under the influence of our parents, right? And especially in very young children, this critical faculty is not very well developed. So everything, all the information is directly going into the subconscious mind without any lid or anything over there. And this is what we really call the program or coding of life. Now, between the ages of 0 to 13 is where I said that the parents or that the kids are under the influence of parents. And that is why once the child becomes or enters the teen years, the teenagers, a lot of parents will find again a lot of conflict happening, a difference of opinions, because now the kids are having their own thought processes, their own opinions, their own viewpoints, things like that. They are no longer under the influence of the parent. They are now going towards their own individuality, becoming an adult. So then again, if these are any of the things that you observe, so these are just external symptoms. These are just external behaviors. These are not actually the problem. All right. These are not actually the problem. This is just the outward results that you see of something that's going wrong at the software. So all these conditions, the anxieties, concentration issues, nail biting, sleeping issues, food issues, bedwetting, toileting issues, autism, even autism for that matter, dyspraxia, diabetes, all of this are just the external things that you're seeing, or external habits, behaviors, or you call it the results of something that's happening at the software level. There's a virus, there is, so these behaviors and systems is just a warning sign to you that there's something not right at the software level. And the system, if not taken care of, the system might just crash. So then what is the sleep talk? Coming to the sleep talk. Sleep talk is a very effective solution. You can call it the antivirus software. You can call it a protective shield. You can call what it wants or what you want, but it is a solution that empowers parents to remove all the unwanted programming, all the unwanted coding, all the viruses that might have entered into the software of the child, which then you see all these outward, results that you see, the behaviors or the things that are not working correctly. The sleep talk is a process. It's not a therapy. This is what I really want to stress upon, that the sleep talk is not a therapy. Therapy is something that you do in the conscious state. So when you talk about therapy, you would go to a therapist. They would tell you certain things. They would tell the child certain things. You know about this, right? There's a lot of speech therapy, behavioral therapy, this therapy, that therapy going on. Counseling is also a form of a therapy where you go and meet the therapist. They would ask you certain questions. They would give you certain activities to do. This is none of it. It's not a therapy. It's a process where parents talk to the children when they are sleeping. So when the child is sleeping, the conscious mind is asleep. You know that, right? So when you're sleeping, you're not consciously aware of what's happening around you. And you have direct access to the subconscious mind where the major programming is happening. So it empowers the parents with a solution where they can remove the bugs or all the viruses that have entered or crept into the programming, remove it, reboot the system, install new softwares, install upgrades, and also put a firewall, the antivirus software that will help the child deal with negative influences as they grow, even as an adult. Right? That's why it's called the 2-minute gift that lasts a lifetime. So it just takes 2 minutes or roughly around, I would say, anywhere between 2 to 4 minutes of a parent's time every night. This is a process, and I call it a process because it has to be done in a certain way. It's a phased way of doing it. And again, let me explain this by a very common example. When you are constructing a building, you've all seen how buildings are constructed, right? Do we start building the floors? No, right? There's a process to it. You first need to clear the ground. You need to clear the ground of all the garbage, or sometimes there might be rocks and pebbles and stuff like that. So you need to first clear the ground. You need to level the ground. You need to remove all the muck and the garbage and the big rocks and the small rocks or whatever there is. You need to level the ground. Then you need to put in the foundation. You need to wait for the foundation to set in. And then you start building floors, floor by floor. And again, you will not put one floor and the next day, next floor. No, you need to put in one slab. You need to wait for some time till it sets. Then you go on to the next slab, the next floor and stuff like that. So when you do it according to that way, the building will stand for at least 100 years. Otherwise, if you just start building the floors without clearing the ground, without leveling the ground, without putting the foundations, and you just start building the floors, you think that building is going to last? It'll crumble. It'll just crumble. And so this is what is the difference when I say, are these only positive affirmations? Yes, we use positive language, but it is done in a phased manner. And again, it is the positive affirmations are or what we call the specifics in SleepTalk language, or what we call the phase 3 in SleepTalk language, is done in such a way that it lasts a lifetime for the kid. And again, let me explain this by an example. So for example, a parent would say, okay, my child doesn't like to go to school or having tantrums going to school. So I'm just going to give a positive affirmation that you love going to school. You love going to school. Okay, and they start talking to the child when the child is sleeping. And a lot of parents have this idea, by the way. Yeah, I've come across this, that sleep talk is just talking positive things to the child when they're sleeping. But that's not what it is. So when you tell the child that you love going to school, what are you doing here? You're just taking care of the outward symptoms. Are you taking care of the cause? Why doesn't the child like to go to school? Maybe he's being bullied. Maybe the teacher is showing some kind of favoritism. Maybe there is some incident that has happened. It could be a very small incident also. It doesn't have to be a big thing. But maybe something has happened that has made the child uncomfortable so that he doesn't want to go to school again. There's something that's disturbing him or her, that he's just not comfortable going to school. So by telling the child that you love going to school, in a way, you're telling the child, it's okay. It's okay if you're being bullied, go to school. It's okay if the teacher is, showing some kind of favoritism or, doing things that she's not supposed to do. It's okay. You still go to school. You still love school. Okay. And no matter what has happened to you, you still go to school. You still love school. Is that what you want? Because what will happen here is, as the child grows as an adult, later on in life, if he finds or he comes across at work places where he's being bullied, places where bosses sometimes show, favoritism, he'll be, it's okay. It's all right. Because he's been taught that, right? He's been told that it's okay. Is that what you want for your child? No. So it's not about only positive affirmations. It's about taking care of the cause of what's causing that. So if the child doesn't love to go to school, or if the child is bedwetting, or if the child is having separation anxiety, or if you see some kind of a sibling rivalry, that is the external symptoms that you're seeing. The cause is something very different. So what the sleep talk does is, it works at the causes, not on the symptoms. So when you work on the cause, you remove the causes, you take care of that, the symptoms automatically disappear. And it's done in a way that we install the softwares, or we install the new programming, or the software upgrades, or whatever you call it. It's done in such a way that it lasts a lifetime. So again, it's a very simple, easy solution that works every time. It just takes about 3 to 5 minutes. There's no medication. It's totally non-intrusive and safe, with changes that last a lifetime. And this picture, that lady that you see here, her name is Joanne Golding. She's the founder of SleepTalk. And I'll just take 2 minutes to explain her story as well. So Joanne lived in the UK. She became a mother to Michelle in the 1960s. So we're talking about the early 1960s, when she gave birth to Michelle, a beautiful, blonde baby with chubby cheeks and nice blonde hair. She was in the UK. And a year later, when Michelle's sister Teresa was born, that is where Joanne started noticing the difference between Michelle and Teresa. So things that Teresa could do very easily, Michelle still was not able to do it. And that got Joanne a little worried. She took Michelle to doctors, obviously, and none of the doctors could actually pinpoint what was wrong with Michelle. Because now we're talking about the 1960s, remember this. And so she took Michelle to a couple of doctors, but nobody could actually pinpoint. And they told Joanne that there's something that you are not doing right as a parent, probably something that you're not understanding. So what exactly was wrong with Michelle was that she had cerebral palsy, which is actual brain damage. She had dyslexia, she had dyspraxia, She had an IQ of only 45. So even her conscious mind was not well developed. The average IQ for an individual is anywhere between 85 to 110. That is the average that we have. We have kids who are also above average, above 110, but 85 is the minimum. And Michelle had an IQ of only 45. That means she could not even follow instructions. There was no speech, there was nothing. And because there was not much research and these terms were not known back then, in the 1960s, none of the doctors could actually pinpoint what was really wrong with her. And this also led to a lot of discord or disharmony between Joanne and her husband, because the father couldn't understand, and he was putting the blame on Joanne again, that you are not taking care of the child, blah, 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 blah. And it led to a lot of fights between Joanne and her husband as well. And during this time, the couple moved to Australia. They eventually separated. The husband took away both the daughters, Teresa and Michelle. Obviously, he couldn't take care of Michelle, so he brought her and left her back with Joanne. And Michelle became even more aggressive because her sister was taken away from her, and her sister was the only kind of friend that she had who could understand and communicate with her. Michelle didn't have any friends. She had no speech. She couldn't go to school. There were a lot of limitations. She couldn't even tie her shoelace. That was the condition that Michelle was in. And in Australia, Joanne started seeing another doctor called Jim Golding. Eventually, both of them got married. Joanne and Jim got married. Jim loved Michelle a lot, but he couldn't work with her when she was awake because, again, her IQ was very low. She had no speech, nothing. She couldn't even say a single word clearly. So he couldn't talk to her. But because he was a hypnotherapist, he was a psychologist and things, he knew of something called as sleep hypnosis, or talking in the sleep. And he started doing that with Michelle. He started talking to her in her sleep. It took a couple of months because he was just doing it by trial and error. So it took some time, almost a year, before they started noticing some change in Michelle, and she said her first clear word. And from there on, she just started getting better and better. And so when they saw and they observed the changes with Michelle, they also then started working with parents in their vicinity, in their neighborhood, with kids, with young kids, with different issues, different problems, different challenges. And they noticed that there were improvements in every child that they worked with. So over years, they have developed this process, which is now called as the SleepTalk. Jim is no more, he's passed on. Joanne still lives in Australia. She's a grand woman of 80 years now. Michelle is independent, she's married, she travels the world. From not being able to tie her shoelaces to now she does beautiful, delicate embroidery, her hand motor coordination, everything has become so much better. So the SleepTalk process is Joanne's lifetime of work where she has developed it, and it's been making a lot of difference to parents across the world. So what I offer is the SleepTalk process for parents with kids between the age of 0 to 13 years. SleepTalk is only for kids between the ages of 0 to 13 years. And the reason for that, like I mentioned earlier, is that once the kids become teenagers, they're no longer so much so under the influence of parents. When kids become teenagers, they're moving towards adulthood. They start having their own. Also, the programming, the major programming, 99% of programming is done between the ages of 0 to 13. 85% is done between the ages of 0 to 9 years. Some of it continues from 9 to 13. And by the time the child hits like 13 years of age, the programming coding is almost done, 99.5%. And purposeful parenting workshop is another thing that I do for parents with kids in 8 years and above. And what I do with the purposeful parenting is we discuss 6 myths that a parent needs to bust, 6 shifts that a parent needs to create, and 6 skills that a parent needs to learn. And these are some fundamental concepts that when you apply, not only as a parent, but even as an adult, and I've applied this after I learned all this, and I applied it with, with my relationship with my mother when I was 44 and she was like 70 at that time. It has changed the dynamics between me and my mother as well. Okay. And also these concepts is something that you can apply with your spouses, with your friends, with your family, even people at work. So these are some basic fundamentals. If you learn and apply it, it's definitely going to make a lot of difference to all your relationships and not just between a parent and a child. So this is something that I suggest to everybody. Do it no matter what, no matter, even if you're not a parent, do it, because these things just help you understand relationship dynamics a little bit more. Now, just a few people that I've worked with. So Anil was a chef here. His child was mildly autistic. He didn't have speech. So from regular school, he was put into a special school. They were doing a lot of therapy, speech therapy, but didn't help. And with this sleep talk, because again, I said that therapy is only done at the conscious level. Speech is a function of the unconscious mind. It's a body function. Remember, unconscious mind takes care of the body function and immune systems. So speech is two things. It is a body function. It's also a learned behavior. So there are two softwares that are controlling this. One is the unconscious, one is the conscious mind. So the therapy only works at the conscious levels, not really at the unconscious levels. And so therapies were not working with Shlok. And once he started the sleep talk, he started speaking very fluently, and he could then go to regular school. This is again, Sachi, no problem, apparent problem, but then applying the sleep talk with her child, he just became very calm. He had a fear of water, which suddenly just disappeared. It takes care of all the fears as well. This is Ashish again. His kids are more confident and happier now. We did it with both his children. Ghazala her child had warts on the hand, which again kind of just disappeared, because again, warts is a physical issue, right? A skin issue. The causes are something very different. And that disappeared. So if you see any of this, if you see the system failing in any way, and when I say system failure, it's about the symptoms and the behaviors that you see outside, what you need is really a software update, right? You need to remove out those bugs or viruses that are causing those issues. You need a software update. And when you do it over a period of time, you will see that everything, all the other unwanted stuff is gone, and you now have a software in your child with a better level of functionality. So now what are you going to choose? As a parent, are you going to continue as it is, or you would choose an upgrade to give you a nice, happy family, be it an adult, be it you, be it a teenager, be it a young child? So this was it. And I'm now open to your question and answers. I'm going to be stopping the screen share. So any of you want to go back to any of the slides before I stop the screen share? Yeah. Parents, any of you want to go back to any of the slide to understand a little bit more, or else I will stop the screen share now. Okay, so I'll stop the screen share. And you can now ask me your questions if you have any. Please unmute and just ask me your questions.
Ma'am, you told me about the 6 myth burst and one more thing. What about those?
That is another workshop that I have, darling. So it's called the Purposeful Parenting Workshop, which is a 3-hour workshop. And I offer that for free for parents who take up the sleep talk. So if you're taking up the sleep talk consultation, that comes as a package. I mean, I just offer it complimentary because I feel it's so important for everybody to know that. And then I also have a separate workshop on that, which is a 3-hour workshop where we discuss the six myths, 6 skills, 6 shifts that a parent needs.
Means that those are the things with which we have to start with the child.
How old is your child?
Mild autistic.
No, so you need the sleep talk. You need the sleep talk. For sure, you need the sleep talk. I'm working with a couple of parents who have children on the spectrum. We already reached phase 3 now. And obviously, there are a lot of changes because with autism, of course, speech is affected. There are a lot of anxiety in a child. All of that will be corrected by the sleep talk.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you have any more questions? Okay, I'm just going to...
Yeah, ma'am. I'm Swati Shah from Pune. Very good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, my baby is 18 months old, and he do a lot of thumb sucking and hair pulling from the sense of when he turned 1. So, ma'am, is this gonna also help? If I'm gonna do the sleep talk and everything, so he it's gonna be help in further.
Definitely. So thumb sucking. So if you say that he's thumb sucking, it's a behavior. It's giving him some comfort, right? Why do children suck the thumb? Because it's giving them some comfort. It's comforting them in some way. There's some anxiety. There's some fear. There's something that is causing them to suck the thumb. And when they suck the thumb, they feel comforted. They feel secure. That's why they're doing it. But what is the cause of it? The cause is some anxiety, some fear. That's why they're doing it, right? So that's why.
Ma'am, sorry, ma'am, I'm cutting you in between. I'm really sorry, but ma'am, but yeah, I feel so embarrassed. In the people of gathering, like a lot of children are doing. As example, I've taken him for a storytelling. All the children are listening the story, or they are going. They are if they are not listening, they are going here and there. But my baby is doing a thumb sucking, and he just sitting, just pulling my hair, and take my some hair in the other hand, and he's just doing a thumb sucking. That's it. I feel like why he's not enjoying also.
Yeah, so that's what's your name? Because your name is just iPhone, I can see. What's your name?
Is it my name is Swati Shah.
Swati. Swati, again, the same thing that I'm saying. All these things that you see are outside behaviors. The cause is something else. Why is he doing it? There's something that's causing the discomfort within him, which is making him do this thumb sucking or playing with your hair. It just gives him a sense of comfort and security. That is why he's doing it. But the cause
Is
is
this right? Is this
obviously
right
not
or
right.
should
No, it is
oh
not,
yeah.
definitely not right. I mean, how are these things the right things to do? If he's not enjoying with the other kids, if he's thumb sucking, if he's sitting in one corner, is that the right thing? Is that what you want? No, right? But these are the results that you're seeing, which is a coming from something that's gone wrong in the software. You need to correct that. You need to remove all those things, and you need to upgrade the system so that all those fears or anxiety or whatever it is that's causing the thumb sucking, that will go away.
But ma'am, just one thing. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are, Safras. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Like behavior is something which is very clear, right? Anybody can observe that he is biting the nail or he is sucking the thumb. But now you are talking about the cause, right? Now, how to identify that cause, because that underlying reasons could be a number of things for the same simple behavior.
Fabulous.
So what is the exact cause for a particular child?
Fabulous
How that
question.
can be?
Fabulous question, Safras. There's no way that anybody can tell you what is the cause. No way. Nobody can tell you what is the cause because of so much information that's going inside in the subconscious mind. It's coming from somewhere. It could be the mother's emotions. And remember, I told you the programming is not only coming from the child, it's also coming from the mother, it's also coming from the grandmother. It could be coming from anywhere. But what is more important? Are you worried about the cause or are you worried about the solution now?
Solution.
Exactly.
Obviously.
Why you want to go to the cause? Whatever causes it, as long as you have a solution to take care of it, right? The mind exactly knows. So the thing here is the mind exactly knows where it has got that from. The mind knows, okay? It knows. So it corrects itself. That is the way the system is designed. That is the way the sleep talk is designed, that we don't need to know the causes. Okay. It's just a solution that kind of takes care of its own self. It's designed in that way that the mind exactly knows what it needs to work on, and it does that. Yeah, have I answered you?
Yeah, you answered, but like still in terms of the understanding this concept, like I need a little bit more clarity. Like just Swati has asked you very specific thing, right? that child is doing thumb sucking,
Yes.
right? Now you are saying it is not important to do the, it is not important to know the root cause, because the causes could be anything, but mind knows what is the exactly cause for that particular child, right?
Yeah.
Now mind knows the cause, you know the behavior. Now how to move ahead? So that is a part of your program. You are saying, or you can explain us also that.
See,
If it is a part of program, that is also fine. I'm
yeah.
okay with that.
So the thing is, again, Sarfraz,
Yeah.
nobody can pinpoint the cause. Nobody can. Give me one
Right.
person.
Perfectly fine.
Nobody can pinpoint the cause. What you are observing is the behavior or the symptoms.
Right.
So thumb sucking is a behavior, it's a symptom.
Right.
Autism is a symptom of
Okay.
something that's happening at the at the programming level, right? And
Okay.
again, the spectrum is like wide. It can be mild, or it can be moderate, or it can be extreme. That's a
Right.
spectrum. Yeah. There's no way to pinpoint the cause of it. But yes, the
Perfectly.
solution is the sleep talk.
Okay.
Yeah, the solution is the sleep talk. So that is a process designed in such a way that will take care of the causes without you even wanting to know or having to know the causes. By just here, it clears all the garbage that is there. So there, it's done
Okay.
in 3 phases: phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Phase 1 just clears the unwanted stuff. Okay. Phase 2 is setting the foundation. And phase
Right.
3 is now installing the new softwares and the antivirus software, which
Okay.
it's like upgrading the system, putting in new softwares, putting in the antivirus shield, so that the child is now taken care of for life.
And you are telling that this process is effective only at the age group up to 13 years?
Yes, the sleep talk is only effective up till the age of 13 years, because once the children reach 13 years, they are no longer so much under the influence of parents.
Okay.
Yeah. So then they become teenagers, and then they become adults. So once you are entering that age, the parents' influence over you becomes a little less. See, for autistic children, it still works even at the age of 16, 17, because, their growth is a little slow.
Slow.
So, yeah. So I have worked with children who are even 16, 17 years, and that's okay. Right. So even for other children up till 15 years also you can do. But the problem, what happens, right, Sarfraz, is that this is to be done when the kids are sleeping. And a lot of parents find it very difficult to work with, with teenage kids. So I tell them to work in the morning if you can. But the best effects are seen when between the ages of 0 to 13 years.
Okay.
Yeah. Vidya, you have a question here that I'm having twin boys. One kid is not speaking and responding, and my kid is 2.5 years. Yeah, again, like the same thing. There's something that's happening in the software levels, which we need to kind of correct. Yeah. I'm just going through all the chats now, just to see if I've missed out anything. No, there's nothing. All right. So any more questions?
You will not tell the solution for, what do I do for the thumb sucking?
See, like I said, it's a process. It's an 8 month. It's the sleep talk is what you have to take up, right? It's I need to do the way it works is that we do the assessment, we try to do all the things. I share the sleep talk. There's a way of doing it, and it's a complete engagement of like 10 to 12 months, because it has to go through phases.
And what is the price, ma'am?